I didn't just read this book, I confronted myself, and that changed everything.
The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. Have you ever noticed how some people just seem to have it all figured out? No matter what life throws at them, they handle it with calmness, clarity, and confidence, as if they're always in control. It's not luck. It's not that they were born smarter or richer. It's their habits, small daily choices that shape the entire direction of their lives. See, habits are like invisible scripts running in the background of our minds. Most of what we do every single day, from how we react to problems to how we treat others, even how we think about success, comes from those patterns. Change your habits and you literally change your destiny. Stephen Covey in The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People explains that real transformation doesn't start outside. It's not about what job you have, who your boss is, or what opportunities you get. It's about how you see and respond to the world around you. He calls this the inside-out approach. Think about it. If you're unhappy with your relationships, your work, or your results, the easiest thing is to blame others. My boss doesn't appreciate me. My friends don't understand me. Life's just unfair. But Covey flips that mindset completely. He says, don't focus on changing others. Focus on changing yourself first. Imagine 2 people stuck in traffic. One is honking, cursing, and ruining their mood for the entire day. The other puts on a podcast, takes a deep breath, and uses that same time to learn something new. Same situation, different habits, different results. The second person has mastered what Covey calls the first habit. Be proactive. This habit is all about realizing that you are in charge of your own life. You can't control the weather, the economy, or how others behave, but you can always control how you respond. Proactive people focus on what Covey calls their circle of influence, the things they can actually do something about, instead of wasting energy on their circle of concern, like politics, traffic, or other people's opinions. Think about it this way. If you constantly worry about things outside your control, your energy shrinks. But when you take responsibility for your actions, no excuses, no blame, your influence expands. That's how leaders are made. They don't wait for things to get better. They take small, intentional steps to make them better. For example, let's say you're unhappy with your fitness. A reactive person says, I don't have time to exercise, or I'll start when life calms down. But a proactive person says, even if I can't go to the gym, I can walk 15 minutes today. That small action builds momentum. Over time, those little proactive choices compound into huge results. Being proactive also means choosing your response instead of reacting emotionally. Someone insults you, you can either get defensive and fight back, or pause, smile, and move on. In that moment, you prove that your emotions are your servants, not your masters. Covey's big message here is this. Between stimulus and response, there's a space, and in that space lies your power to choose. That's where freedom lives. The freedom to stay calm under pressure. The freedom to keep your word even when it's hard. The freedom to act on values, not moods. So, the first step to becoming truly influential isn't about influencing others yet. It's about mastering yourself. Because people naturally trust and follow those who are grounded, consistent, and emotionally strong. Every great leader, from Gandhi to Martin Luther King Jr., lived this principle. They didn't wait for perfect conditions. They acted on what they could do with what they had, and that's what made them powerful. So start there. Be proactive. Stop saying, I can't or I have to. Start saying, I choose to. Because the moment you take full ownership of your life, you stop being a victim and start becoming a creator. Once you learn to be proactive, to take charge of your choices, the next step is knowing where you want those choices to lead. That's what Stephen Covey calls the second habit. Begin with the end in mind. Think about this. How many people wake up every day, go to work, handle endless tasks, and yet feel like they're going in circles? They're busy, but not fulfilled. They're moving, but not towards something meaningful. That's because they never stop to ask the most powerful question of all. What am I really trying to achieve in life? Covey says that everything is created twice. First in the mind, then in reality. Before you build a house, you create a blueprint. Before an artist paints, they imagine the picture. But in life, most people try to build without ever sketching the design. They chase goals that aren't even theirs, like earning money, buying stuff, or impressing others, without knowing if it truly matters to them. To begin, the end in mind means you live intentionally, guided by a clear vision of who you want to be and what legacy you want to leave behind. It's about writing your own life mission before someone else does it for you. Covey gives a powerful exercise. Imagine you're attending your own funeral. What do you want people to say about you? Your family? Your friends? Your coworkers? What kind of person do you want them to remember? Kind? Honest? Courageous? The answers reveal what truly matters to you. Your values. Those values become your compass. Let's say you realize you want to be remembered as someone who inspired others. Then every decision, from your work to your relationships, should reflect that. You'll choose opportunities that align with your purpose instead of distractions that pull you off track. Here's a small example. Imagine two friends, Ria and Aditi. Both work hard at their jobs. Ria focuses on climbing the corporate ladder as fast as possible, accepting every task to prove her worth. Aditi, on the other hand, knows her long-term goal is to build something creative, maybe start her own business one day. So she says no to projects that don't align with her vision and spends time learning new skills instead. In the short term, Ria looks busier, but in the long run, Aditi is walking toward her chosen destination because she began with the end in mind. This habit also applies to smaller goals. If your end in mind is better health, then every meal, every late-night choice, every workout decision becomes easier because you're not deciding randomly. You're deciding based on purpose. You're not asking, do I feel like exercising? But does this align with who I want to be? Covey also encourages writing a personal mission statement, a few lines that capture your values and direction. For example, I want to live with integrity, love deeply, keep learning, and help others grow. That single statement can act as a filter for every decision you make. When you begin with the end in mind, you stop living on autopilot. You stop letting other people's expectations control you. You start designing your life like an architect, deliberately and consciously. And the best part, this habit gives your daily efforts meaning. Even small tasks start feeling significant when you know how they connect to your bigger vision. You don't just go to work anymore. You build towards something that matters. So, before you start chasing success, pause and picture what success actually looks like for you. Not society's version, your version. Because when you have a clear end in mind, your energy, time, and focus naturally align. And that's when life stops being random and starts becoming intentional. Once you know where you're headed, your vision, your end in mind, the next challenge is learning how to stay focused on what truly matters. That's where the third habit comes in. Put first things first. Covey says this habit is about discipline, the art of managing yourself, not just your time. Everyone has the same 24 hours, yet some people move mountains while others can't even cross small hills. The difference is priorities. Most people spend their days reacting, jumping from one urgent task to another, checking notifications, replying to messages, putting out fires. But being busy isn't the same as being productive. Covey teaches that effectiveness comes from focusing on the important, not just the urgent. He explains this through his famous time management matrix, which divides tasks into 4 quadrants. 1. Urgent and important. Crises, deadlines, emergencies. 2. Not urgent, but important. Planning, relationships, growth. Health. 3. Urgent, but not important. Interruptions, random calls, trivial tasks. 4. Not urgent and not important. Time wasters, scrolling, gossip. The key is to spend more time in quadrant 2, the not urgent but important zone, because that's where long-term success is built. For example, exercising, learning new skills, spending quality time with loved ones. They don't scream for attention, but ignoring them leads to crisis later. Think about it like this. If you don't take time to maintain your car, you'll soon spend time fixing it. If you don't nurture your relationships, you'll later spend time repairing broken trust. First things first means choosing prevention over reaction. Let's say you want to get fit. An urgent mindset says, I'll work out when I find time. But an effective mindset blocks that time in advance, treating it like a meeting with yourself that can't be canceled. You manage your day around your priorities instead of squeezing priorities around your day. Covey also points out that saying yes to what matters means saying no to what doesn't. You can't do everything, and that's okay. Successful people aren't those who do more. They're those who do what matters most. So start asking yourself, what's the most important thing I can do today that will make the biggest difference in my life? Then do that first, not after the emails, not after the distractions. First, because when you put first things first, life stops feeling chaotic. You stop chasing urgency and start creating balance. And over time, those focused decisions shape not just your schedule, but your entire future. Once you learn to manage yourself and focus on what truly matters, it's time to step into the world of relationships and influence. The 4th habit is think win-win, and it's one of the most powerful ideas in the book. We live in a world that often teaches us to compete, to believe that for one person to win, another must lose. This win-lose mindset shows up everywhere. At work, in school, even in families. But Covey challenges that thinking. He says, real success and lasting relationships are built when both sides win. Think about it. When you argue with someone and win the fight, do you really win? Maybe you win the words, but you lose the trust. Win-win means seeking solutions where everyone benefits, where cooperation replaces competition. Let's take a simple example. Imagine 2 coworkers, Arjun and Meera, working on a project. Arjun wants to lead to get recognition, and Meera wants creative control. Instead of fighting for dominance, they sit down and decide. Arjun handles strategy, Meera designs the creative part. The project succeeds, and both shine. That's win-win. This mindset comes from what Covey calls an abundance mentality, the belief that there's enough success, love, and recognition for everyone. The opposite, the scarcity mentality, says that life is a zero-sum game, that someone else's success takes away from yours. But the truth is, life isn't a limited pie. Helping others grow doesn't make your slice smaller. It makes the pie bigger. Think win-win doesn't mean you have to be nice all the time or avoid conflict. It means you're so courageous and considerate at the same time. You stand up for what you believe in while also respecting the needs of others. It's not about compromising your values. It's about finding a better third alternative that benefits everyone. In personal life, this habit transforms relationships. When you stop trying to win arguments with your partner, friend, or parent, and instead focus on mutual understanding, tension drops and respect grows. The relationship becomes a partnership, not a battlefield. At its core, this habit is about shifting from me to we, because true influence doesn't come from overpowering people. It comes from empowering them. And when you start thinking win-win, you become the kind of person others love to work with. Trust deeply and follow naturally. After learning to collaborate and create through synergy, the next step is mastering one of the most underestimated skills in the world: listening. That's what the fifth habit is all about. Seek first to understand, then to be understood. Most people believe communication means talking, expressing your point, defending your side, proving you're right. But Covey flips that completely. He says, true communication starts with listening. Really listening. Not to reply, but to understand. Imagine you visit a doctor with a pain in your chest, and before you even finish explaining, the doctor says, "I know exactly what you need," and hands you random pills. Would you trust that doctor? Of course not. Yet that's how we communicate most of the time. We prescribe before we diagnose. Covey calls this empathetic listening. Listening with the intent to understand someone's feelings, thoughts, and perspective, not just their words, because behind every opinion is an emotion, and behind every emotion is a story. Let's take a simple example. Suppose your friend says, "I'm so tired of my job." Instead of replying, "Yeah, me too, work sucks," or giving quick advice like, "Just quit," empathetic listening sounds like this. You sound really exhausted. What's been bothering you the most about it? That one sentence makes the other person feel seen and valued. And that's where connection begins. Covey explains that when people feel genuinely understood, they drop their defenses and become open to hearing your perspective in return. Understanding first doesn't weaken your point. It strengthens it. It builds trust, and trust opens the door for influence. In leadership, this habit is gold. A manager who listens deeply earns loyalty. A parent who listens without judgment earns respect. Even in conflicts, when one side feels heard, half the battle is already won. But it's not just about others. When you practice this habit, you also grow emotionally. You learn patience, empathy, and humility. The ability to see the world through someone else's eyes. So before you rush to prove your point, pause and ask yourself, do I really understand this person? Have I listened long enough to see where they're coming from? Because when you seek first to understand, you don't just improve conversations. And that's what makes people truly influential. Once you've mastered understanding others, the next step is about creating something greater together. That's the sixth habit, synergize. Synergy is the idea that the whole is greater than the sum of its parts. It's not just teamwork. It's creative cooperation, combining strengths to produce results that no individual could achieve alone. Covey calls it the habit that celebrates differences instead of tolerating them. Think about it like music. A guitar alone can sound good, and a drum alone can sound good. But put them together in harmony with a piano and a singer, and suddenly you have a song that touches hearts. That's synergy in life and work. Synergy is about finding the song that emerges when people collaborate deeply. Let's take an example from the workplace. Imagine a team with 3 very different members. Priya, the creative thinker, Samir, the data analyst, and Anuka, the organizer. Alone, each does their job well. But when they combine their skills, brainstorming ideas, analyzing feasibility, and organizing execution, they produce a project far better than anyone could have done alone. That's synergy in action. Synergy doesn't happen automatically. It requires openness, trust, and valuing differences rather than seeing them as threats. People often fear disagreements, thinking conflict is negative. Covey argues the opposite. Healthy conflict, when guided by mutual respect, can spark innovative solutions that no single person would have imagined. It also applies in personal life. Imagine planning a family vacation. If everyone insists on their own ideas, arguments happen. But if each person shares what matters most to them, and the family combines the suggestions, the result is a trip that everyone enjoys, richer than any single plan. At its core, this habit teaches us that diversity is strength. Different opinions, experiences, and skills can produce extraordinary results when harnessed together. People who master synergy aren't just effective individually, they amplify the abilities of everyone around them. Synergy transforms relationships, teams, and organizations. It turns ordinary efforts into extraordinary outcomes, and ordinary people into leaders who inspire creativity and collaboration wherever they go. That's why it's one of the most powerful habits for influence. After learning to collaborate and create through synergy, the final habit focuses on renewing yourself continuously. This is habit 7. Sharpen the saw. Covey compares life to a saw. No matter how hard you work, if your saw becomes dull, you won't cut efficiently. Similarly, if you neglect yourself physically, mentally, emotionally, or spiritually, your effectiveness declines over time. Sharpening the saw is about self-renewal, maintaining balance in all areas of life. Physically, it means exercise, healthy eating, and rest. A strong body gives energy and stamina to handle challenges. Mentally, it's about learning, reading, writing, or taking courses, keeping your mind sharp and curious. Emotionally, nurturing relationships, practicing gratitude, and managing stress helps maintain inner peace. Spiritually, meditation, reflection, or connecting with your values gives purpose and guidance. Think about someone working tirelessly without rest. They may achieve results for a while, but eventually burnout sets in. On the other hand, a person who takes care of themselves consistently remains effective, creative, and resilient. For example, a leader who exercises regularly, meditates, and spends quality time with family will handle crisis calmly, unlike someone exhausted and reactive. Sharpening the saw is not a one-time act, but a lifelong habit. Even small daily practices compound into extraordinary results. Reading for 20 minutes daily, going for a short walk, reflecting on achievements, or expressing gratitude can keep your saw sharp. This habit is the foundation of all the others. Without renewal, you can't be proactive, think clearly, maintain priorities, or influence others effectively. By sharpening yourself regularly, you ensure that your physical, mental, emotional, and spiritual saw stays sharp, enabling continuous growth and high performance. In essence, sharpen the saw is about investing in yourself so you can invest in the world around you more powerfully, consistently, and meaningfully. Once you've mastered all 7 habits individually, it's important to understand how they work together to build true influence. Influence isn't about controlling people or demanding respect. It's about earning trust and inspiring action through character and consistency. Habits 1 through 3 focus on self-mastery, being proactive, beginning with the end in mind, and putting first things first, develop discipline, clarity, and direction. When people see someone consistently acting with integrity and purpose, they naturally pay attention. Leaders are noticed not for titles, but for how they manage themselves. Habits 4 through 6 shift the focus outward to interdependence, thinking win-win, seeking first to understand, then to be understood, and synergizing create trust, collaboration, and connection. Influence grows when people feel understood, valued, and empowered. They follow not because they have to, but because they want to. For example, imagine a team leader, Rahul. He takes responsibility for his actions. Habit 1, plans the team's vision. Habit 2, prioritizes key projects. Habit 3, seeks mutually beneficial solutions. Habit 4, listens deeply to team concerns. Habit 5, and encourages creative collaboration. Habit 6, naturally his team respects and follows him because they see his integrity, competence, and commitment to others. That's influence through habits, not authority. Sharpening the saw, habit 7, strengthens this influence even further. A leader who continuously grows and renews themselves demonstrates resilience, adaptability, and inspiration. People are drawn to someone who embodies balance and purpose, not just instructions or rules. Influence built this way is lasting because it rests on principles, not manipulation. Manipulation may get short-term compliance, but habits based on character and interdependence create loyalty, respect, and admiration that endure. So when you combine self-mastery, interpersonal skills, and continuous renewal, influence becomes a natural byproduct. People listen, follow, and trust not because you demand it, but because your habits show them a path worth following. That's the real power of the 7 habits. Understanding the 7 habits is one thing, but putting them into practice consistently is where real transformation happens. Covey emphasizes that habits are not learned overnight. They are built gradually through conscious effort, reflection, and repetition. The first step in implementation is self-awareness. You must recognize which habits you already practice naturally and which need attention. For example, if you tend to react emotionally to criticism, you might focus first on habit 1. Be proactive. If you often feel lost or directionless, habit 2, begin with the end in mind, could become your priority. Next, create small, achievable steps. You don't need to master all 7 habits at once. Pick one habit, practice it daily, and track your progress. For instance, you might start with proactive thinking by consciously responding to challenges rather than reacting. Once it becomes a routine, move on to the next habit. Accountability also plays a key role. Sharing your goals with a friend, mentor, or coach can help maintain focus. When someone else knows your intentions, you're more likely to stay committed. Even simple tools like journaling or setting reminders reinforce your habits and track growth. Challenges are inevitable. Old patterns, external pressures, and distractions can make new habits difficult. Covey encourages patience and persistence. Growth is not linear. There will be setbacks, but each conscious effort strengthens your internal framework. Finally, reflect regularly. Weekly or monthly check-ins with yourself allow you to see progress, adjust strategies, and celebrate wins. Reflection reinforces learning and ensures your habits align with your values and vision. By consciously implementing these habits step by step, you transform abstract ideas into real-life behaviors. Over time, these behaviors compound, improving your personal effectiveness, relationships, and influence. In short, practice makes the principles real, and that's how true success and impact are built. When you've learned the habits and started practicing them, the final step is to internalize them so they become part of your daily life. Covey emphasizes that the true power of the 7 habits comes from consistency, turning intentional actions into automatic patterns. Start by integrating habits into your daily routines. For example, you can begin your morning with a proactive mindset. Habit 1, review your goals for the day. Plan the most important tasks first. Habit 2 and 3, small deliberate actions, repeated over time, solidify these habits. Next, combine habits for greater effect. While focusing on your priorities, also practice seeking to understand others. Habit 5, and thinking win-win. Habit 4, when you handle tasks and relationships intentionally, your life begins to feel more balanced and effective. Synergy. Habit 6, naturally emerges when you collaborate with people who complement your strengths. Remember, challenges will arise. Life is unpredictable, and old habits can resurface. The key is to remain patient and persistent, using setbacks as opportunities to reinforce your commitment. Even a small conscious choice to react differently can gradually shift patterns over time. Sharpening the saw. Habit 7, ensures sustainability. Regular physical, mental, emotional, and spiritual renewal keeps you energized and focused, allowing you to maintain all other habits consistently. Without renewal, it's easy to slip back into reactive, unproductive behaviors. Finally, track progress and celebrate wins. Notice when you respond proactively, prioritize effectively, or resolve conflicts with win-win solutions. Acknowledging small victories reinforces the habits and motivates you to continue. By internalizing these practices, they become second nature. Over time, your character, decisions, and interactions reflect the principles of the 7 habits, creating lasting influence, effectiveness, and fulfillment in every area of life. All the habits we've discussed lead to a single powerful truth. Effectiveness and influence are built over time through consistent, principled action. The 7th habit, sharpen the saw, ensures that this growth is sustainable. While the first 6 habits provide the framework for personal mastery and interdependent relationships, Covey emphasizes that success is not about shortcuts or quick fixes. It's about daily choices that align with values, purpose, and long-term goals. Each habit reinforces the others. Being proactive enhances your ability to prioritize. Having a clear vision helps you make better decisions. Thinking win-win strengthens relationships. Empathetic listening improves collaboration. And synergy amplifies results. Together, these habits form a cohesive system that drives personal and professional success. It's important to remember that this journey is ongoing. Mastery doesn't happen once. It's a lifelong process of learning, reflection, and renewal. Regularly reviewing your mission, evaluating your priorities, and reflecting on your interactions helps you stay aligned with your principles. The ultimate benefit of practicing these habits is not just achieving goals or gaining influence. It's about living a principled, purpose-driven life, one where your actions are consistent with your values, your relationships are authentic, and your impact is meaningful. People notice when someone lives this way, and that's how trust and respect are earned naturally. So, take these habits seriously, practice them deliberately, and make them part of your daily life. Over time, you'll find that not only are you more effective in your personal and professional pursuits, but you also inspire others to elevate themselves. The 7 habits aren't just a guide to success. They are a roadmap to a life of integrity, influence, and fulfillment. In the end, living by these principles allows you to move through life not reactively, but intentionally. Not alone, but in harmony with others. Not exhausted, but continually renewed. That's the transformative power of the 7 habits.